My name is Michelle, and I've learned the hard way that even the straightest paths can twist when you lose your footing. If you had met me some years ago, you'd have sworn I was a postal child for obedience. Everyone at church called me Sister Michelle. Teachers described me as focused, quiet, and disciplined. My parents trusted me so much that they often bragged about me in front of their friends. But what no one ever tells you is this: sometimes the children who are caged the longest are the ones who stumble hardest when the doors finally open. I know because I lived it. I grew up in a very strict Christian home. My parents loved me, but their love came with boundaries so tight that sometimes I could barely breathe. My life followed a rigid timetable: wake up at 5 a.m., family devotion, school, back home, chores, homework, dinner, night devotion, sleep. There was no room for anything else. No birthday parties unless they were church approved. No sleepovers, no hanging out at the mall with friends. Even watching certain TV shows was forbidden because they were worldly. My classmates would gist about going to the movies or attending concerts, and I would sit there, smiling faintly, pretending I didn't care. But deep down, I longed for it. The biggest symbol of my sheltered life was the phone. While my peers were on Instagram and WhatsApp, I didn't own a phone until after secondary school. I used to feel invisible, cut off from the world that moved on without me. Sometimes I would stare at the ceiling at night, imagining myself laughing with friends, trying on new clothes, or just being free. But freedom was a word that carried weight in my house. To my parents, freedom was danger. When I first graduated from secondary school, I thought at last that I could breathe. But my parents weren't ready to loosen their grip, insisted that I should attend a university close to home so they could keep an eye on me. My heart sank. It was my aunt, my mother's younger sister, who saved me. She argued passionately with my parents. "You can't clip this girl's wings forever. She needs to go out there and learn responsibility. Let her go to Ibadan. She'll be fine." Eventually, my parents agreed, though not without condition. "Michelle," my father warned, his voice stern, "do not tarnish our family name. Go to school and study. Nothing else." "I promise, Daddy. I'll be a good girl," I replied, and I meant it. On the day they dropped me off at the hostel, they held a long prayer session in the room, their hands on my head, tears in their eyes. My mother whispered, "Don't forget where you came from." My father added, "The world out there is full of traps. Stay focused." I nodded, tears streaming down my face. As they drove away, I felt both relief and fear. This was my first real taste of independence. That very evening, I met my roommates, Stella and Nancy. They were stunning, full of life, confident, the kind of girls who turned heads when they walked into a room. "Welcome, Michelle," Nancy said, her voice bright and playful. "We're your sisters now." "Don't worry," Stella added, flipping her long Brazilian weave. "We'll show you how to survive in this place." That night, they invited me to a party. I smiled politely. "No, thank you. I don't do parties." They laughed but didn't push. "Suit yourself," Nancy said. "The offer's always open." And so began my routine: classes, church, library, hostel. Meanwhile, Stella and Nancy were always out, coming home at dawn with laughter, music, and sometimes strange perfumes clinging to their clothes. They teased me often, calling me pastor's daughter, but I didn't mind. I had promised my parents, and I was determined to keep my word. Weeks passed, and provisions began to run out. I stretched gari and noodles as far as possible until finally I had to call my dad. "Daddy, please, I need money for food." "I'll send 10,000, he said. Relief washed over me. But when I ended the call, Nancy burst into laughter. "What's funny?" I asked. "10K? She scoffed. "That can't even buy me a wig glue." Stella smirked. "Michelle, wake up. You're in university now. You can't keep living like a church mouse." "It's what my parents can afford," I defended myself, though shame burned inside me. "Then change your life," Stella said. "Come out with us. There's more to school than just lectures and church." I shook my head, but something in me wavered. At night, lying on my bunk, I wondered if maybe I really was missing out. The pressure built until one evening I gave in. Fine, I told them. I'll come with you. Just once. The party was everything I had been worried about. Loud music, flashing lights, people dancing with reckless abandon. At first, I clung to a bottle of soda, standing awkwardly, but Nancy passed a red cup into my hand. Drink. Just one sip. You'll feel better. One sip became two. Warmth flooded through me. My body loosened. I laughed, I danced, I forgot myself. For the first time in my life, I felt alive. That one night became another, then another. Parties replaced study time. Alcohol became normal. Followed soon. I was skipping classes altogether. I lied to my parents saying I was busy with schoolwork, when in truth, I was busy with late nights and hangovers. Then came Samuel. He was tall, with dreadlocks, a cocky smile, and a car that turned heads. He never seemed to lack money, though he never talked about a job. People whispered. I knew what that meant, fraud. But by then, right and wrong blurred together. Samuel made me feel special. He bought me gifts, took me to fancy places, and told me I was beautiful. I fell fast, blind to the danger. GPA crumbled. My conscience dulled. The promises I made to my parents were nothing but fading echoes. One Friday night, after yet another party, Samuel drove us home. Stella and Nancy were in the back, giggling. I leaned against him, tipsy and careless. Then came flashing lights, sirens, police. Everybody down! An officer barked. They searched the car and pulled out bags of drugs hidden under the seat. My stomach dropped. Samuel was drunk and belligerent. They handcuffed him. And me. I cried begging. Please, I didn't know. But the officers didn't care. Stella and Nancy, they ran. Just disappeared into the night, leaving me behind. That night in the cell was the lowest point of my life. The stench of urine, the cold floor, the hardened eyes of other women staring at me. It was hell. I hugged my knees and stopped, wishing I could turn back time. By morning, I had no choice but to call my parents. When they arrived, the look on their faces got deeper than any insult. My mother's tears flowed endlessly. My father's silence was heavier than a curse. Michelle, my mother whispered, is this what you left home for? I broke down completely. I'm sorry. I didn't know what came over me. They bailed me out, but the shame lingered. I could see it in your eyes, the disappointment, the hurt. Yet beneath it all, something shifted. That night at home, after the tears and the scolding, my father sighed deeply. Perhaps we were too strict, he admitted. We wanted to protect you, but maybe we didn't teach you how to stand on your own. We clipped your wings so much that when you finally flew, you didn't know where to go. My mother nodded through her tears. We share in this mistake too. For the first time, I saw my parents as humans, not just disciplinarians, but people willing to admit fault. The university suspended me for one session. When I returned to the hostel to pack, Stella and Nancy were casually eating noodles. Michelle, thank God you're back. Come join us, Stella chirped. I stared in disbelief. You left me that night. You didn't even call back to check on me. Nancy rolled her eyes. Are you a baby? You wanted us to get arrested too? Why didn't you run like us? At that moment, clarity hit me like a slap. They were never my friends. I had risked everything for people who wouldn't lift a finger to save me. When I returned after my suspension, I was assigned to a new roommate, Esther. She was different, quiet, studious, deeply rooted in her faith. She welcomed me warmly, but never pressured me. At first, it was hard. My GPA was in ruins. Sometimes I felt like giving up, but Esther encouraged me, studied with me, prayed with me. Slowly, I rebuilt myself. I spent nights in the library, turned out parties, and cut ties with toxic friends. It wasn't easy, but little by little, I rose. By final year, I had climbed back to the top of my class. On graduation day, when I walked across the stage to receive my first class degree, my parents clapped the loudest. But this time, their pride was softer, freer. They no longer held me in a chokehold of rules. They trusted me to choose wisely. Looking back, I shiver at how close I came to destroying my future. One bad choice led to another until I was spiraling out of control. I learned that not everyone who smiles at you is a friend, and not every invitation is worth accepting. But I also learned something deeper. Love must balance protection with trust. My parents realized that over control breeds rebellion. I realized that freedom without discipline is a trap. Choose your friends wisely because the wrong company can destroy you. Freedom is a gift, but without wisdom, it can enslave you. And parents, protect your children, but don't cage them. Teach them how to stand so when the world tests them, they will not fall. As for me, I stumbled badly, but God gave me a second chance, and I took it.